Okay, this one should be fun. Specifically, we're going to start with filters, and I'm going to start on the landscape first. You're going to notice on my drop down, there's a listing here for Camera Raw Filter. This is actually a plugin. I don't know why they have it under filters because they specifically call it a plugin. We're not going to start with that one, but it is a lot of fun. And if you have that access to it, use it. It's awesome. I'm going to start with blur and my very personal favorite Gaussian blur. You can see you can modify it a little bit, you can smush it out until the point that everything is pixelated around the edges, and you can kind of minimize that. If you don't want to see that pixelation underneath, just make sure you have anything below this that's solid. That could be a solid color, or it could be another layer of something. Cancel that. Filter, distort, and I'm just picking through these. Twirl. You can see what it would do there. Angle. And again, just so you can see it. And again, that's just if you want to do something really fun, depending on, again, what suits your needs. And here we go, filter, render, clouds. I'm not sure why it went to purple. I did have that color selected as my background, or foreground rather, so I'm going to assume that's why. Let's edit, undo clouds, back to filter, sharpen, smart sharpen. I personally in this image don't see a huge difference. There you do. Just depending on the radius and what your image is. Now you can see it really made this line a little bit more crisp along with the ocean. You also lost, there you go. I lost my train of thought. At any rate, play with all the filters, see what you like. Sharpen we did, stylize. And again, a little bit goes a long way. And depending on what you want your outcome to be, and I'm going to go ahead and leave that here. There you go. So it just truly depends on what looks good for the image that you're working on. Now, camera raw, I do want to grab here real fast. This will open up your image, huge. And you have the option of clicking through all these fabulous drop downs. One of the things I like to play with is clarity and dehaze, which affects the light. A lot of things affect the light. So again, it's whatever you want your outcome to be. Texture is a cool one, especially if you're doing faces, because like on a guy, it can really bring out like beard stubble. I'm going to bring this back. And again, temperature of the color. There's just so much stuff in here that you can play with. And it gives you options to do fun things with your curves, which is something that we'll get into in later lessons when we're doing more advanced stuff with the school. As you can see, it can make a very dramatic impact, and it doesn't necessarily make it great. So again, a little bit goes a long way with everything. Color mixer. More red, less red, greens, everything you have listed here. So your warm and your cool colors. Color grading. Again, lots and lots of things to play with, just depending on what you want that outcome to be. And effects. There you go for the graininess. And again, just what you want the end to be. And that vignette, that shadowing around the edges, just whatever you think, oh, that was not expected. We'll take that back to the center. Calibration. And again, it's just a lot of fun stuff to play with. This has some similarities to the plugin that is called Topaz, which is not free. It's an awesome tool as well. This takes a lot more effort. Topaz has presets. If this has presets beyond this listing, I don't yet know what they are. So if you find out, tell me, because I would love to learn more and share. Let me go ahead and click cancel. Now we also have our blending modes, which is one of my very favorite things to use. And what I'm going to do real quickly here, and just because I have that already set at purple, I'm going to fill that layer underneath with purple. Might take me a couple tries. Hang on, let's cancel. Shift F5. There we go. Okay, now you can see the difference that this made with color burn. That's just normal, so you can't see through it. Lighten. We came down to there. That's really dramatic, not necessarily what you would want, but again, this is showing you all the different things that you can do. Don't be afraid to get a little wild now and then. Again, just depending on what that outcome is. If you think it's pretty, someone else may as well. Alrighty, take this back to normal because that freaked me out being on hard mix. Again, fill. This one I actually use more now than I do adjusting the opacity. And again, it just pulls out some of that image. You still have the full image there. It's just not as solid. And I'm going to take this one back to 100. There we go. Let's come up to opacity, just so you can see a little bit of what the differences are here. And I'm just lowering that opacity. If you drop both of these, it does make a difference. Fill won't take it down to invisible. Opacity will. There you go. Alrighty, let's come over here. I'm going to come back into filters. I want to go to blur. And let's play with smart blur. So this is actually really unique. If you want to soften some things in the background, it's going to choose the radius based on the number that you pick, obviously, as to how far out it goes. Let's go to something extreme. I'm going to keep the threshold where it is. Oh, look at her hair as that changes. See how that kind of smushed together? And the background now doesn't look nearly as defined. Her face is still clear. So if we edit, undo, or Control Z, you can see that definition comes back into her hair. So again, it just depends on what you want to do. Some of the other things I like to play with, radial blur. I'm going to take this from 10 down to 4. Let's click OK. You see it's way too close on her face. It kind of gives me a headache to look at her, but that, again, the concept is what you're going for. Okay. Tons of stuff to play with in here. And then from the plugin side, I have Topaz loaded. Again, I'm not going to show you because it is something that you would have to buy. If you ever get it and you have questions, let me know. But it is not something you have to have. And then stylize, you can I'm going to do oil paint just because some of these other ones look really weird if you do them on a face. Again, this not that much better on a face. It's one of the reasons if I'm doing things to an image like this with a model's face, I prefer to have a copy of it so that you can use a mask, clear off some of the changes that you've made and just let it show through without, for instance, the oil paint on here. Okay, and again, you get the idea. Click on it, adjust, see what you like, what you don't like, keep going from there. I'm going to come back to this, and I'm going to bring this back up because I want to show you actions. I am not going to go through the full thing. The link that I included below through the the F64 Academy, anyhow, they have a video that goes through the whole thing. This is a little bit on the intense side. So window, actions. And I've already clicked on this a few times, but you can see this is the grouping for that F64, their diamond gradient. The outcome is incredibly cool, but this is how the steps run. This is step 1. Scroll, 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 scroll for days. Step 2, and each of these opens up and drops down again. And it's huge. Now this is actually a duplicate of it. I'm going to get rid of that. So I absolutely don't need the same thing twice. There we go. And again, that's how it shows that all the way through. And yep, step 1, step 2. So I don't know why they don't call it more steps than that. I think it would be intimidating, I guess, to say that it was 117 steps. But this is why I'm not trying to go through it here with you because it is such a process and because the guy has already done it on his tutorial. So that is actions. Camera Raw was the plugins, filters. The last thing, and we play with this a lot, but blending. We've talked about some. I love blending. This is my favorite go-to. And again, because it can make such a simple difference, it's easily undone. You just have to come back and change it. Also with this, if you, again, adjust fill and or opacity along with your blending changes, it can make a huge difference. So if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Thanks.